let's talk about creating a functioning wardrobe for the late 1830s. Hi everyone, my name is Caitlin, and on this channel I teach old-fashioned sewing skills and we copy originals. And part of that is going through my wardrobe and making sure that I don't have excess pieces, but also that I have all the pieces that I need so that there are no gaps in my historical wardrobe. So we've been going through, and I think we've done the 1870s, we've done my natural form, we've done late 1860s and early 1860s. So we're going to kind of go back a little bit and do late 1830s, which is honestly my favorite historical clothing time period. I don't know what it is, but just post Great Sleep Collapse of the 1830s is like perfection clothing wise. Not the biggest fan of the bonnets, but they are getting better from the actual craziness of the 1830s. I don't know, I just am a huge fan of the banded down sleeve look and the beautiful wide berthas and the slightly raised waist and the still short skirts. It speaks to me. So I know I don't have a lot for this time period. This isn't a time period I get to do a lot, mostly because I live in Texas. And so within Texas living history, you have a lot of people who like to do 1835 to 1836 because that is Texas Revolution. So that's when Texas wins its independence from Mexico. And then from 1836 up until 1845, Texas is its own country. But they always seem to focus, when we do 1840s events, it's either Mexican-American War in 46 to 48, or it's late 44, 45, Texas is starting to talk about joining the United States, that sort of thing. So we almost never do the late 1830s. We are getting a village built for us, one of the historic sites, that is going to do some early 40 stuff. So I'm going to be able to pull some of those late 30s clothes. But this is really going to be for 1837-ish to about 1841, maybe possibly push to 1842. So that was more of an introduction to the video, but as an introduction to me, if you're new here, hi, welcome. My name is Caitlin. I've been doing living history for, I think I counted up, I think it's like 14 or 15 years, but I just say 12 plus years to be totally safe. I think it's more like 14. And then I've been sewing for well over 20 years. Since I was in elementary school. So this is a passion of mine. I enjoy doing this, and our whole goal is to copy originals to the best of our ability, to learn what makes a living historian by trade, whether you're a hobbyist or a professional. And we always stress going back to the original sources because that is the best way to learn how they did things back then. And of course, if you're a returning viewer, thank you so much for coming back. So like I said, I'm trying to slowly improve my wardrobe. And for some time periods, I have a lot of excess. And for other time periods, I have almost nothing. This is going to be one of those almost nothing time periods. I think I have a lot of underpinnings, but not so much with actual garments. And we'll talk about that as we go along. And my goal is to make sure I have exactly what I need for living history. Not too much, not too little. Some time periods, I do multiple classes. I might do absolute refugee working class one event, and the next weekend I may be doing the exact same year, but I may be doing, wealthy plantation heiress. Those are two very different impressions and two very different clothing needs. And some time periods, I don't do that. I have a general working class impression, which is sort of what I do for this time period as well. Something within the upper working class to lower middle class. I am a seamstress by trade, and so it's very easy for me to pull into a seamstress impression, which would be working class, but you would be a little bit more middle to upper working class, kind of depending on where you were in society and what type of skills you had and how many dressmakers were in the area and all that. And so when I don't have a specific character in mind, I tend to go into generic dressmaker as a trade. And that is what I do for this particular time period. And again, my goal for this series is to have as complete wardrobe as possible to carry everything that I do, but have as few pieces as possible because storage space. So I am just a volunteer now, which really does help because I do a lot of living history throughout the year, but I'm not stuck to a historic site, which means I don't need an actual functioning 1830s wardrobe. It's not like I work at an 1839 site and I need clothes for every day of the week. I have a little bit more flexibility in the fact that I probably only do the late 1830s to very early 1840s, maybe once or twice a year. So I don't have to have a whole lot of stuff. And usually that's been just a day trip event. I don't need a set for a weekend or anything like that. I probably am going to need a few more pieces just to round out a wardrobe, but not significantly because I don't do a whole lot. Also, as a quick side note, any of the projects that I talk about in this video that we made on the channel, I will be linking. I think it goes right here. I think or maybe it goes here. My camera flips it, but there'll be like a little blue thing on the bottom and it'll tell you a number. And then in the description below, there will be links to those videos if you like to watch them. YouTube only lets me link 5 videos per video, and so anything excess is going to be down here. They're all going to be down here actually, so just go to the description if you'd like to see any of them being made up. So let's begin our discussion on footwear. So stockings don't really change within the 19th century, so I'm able to use my normal stockings for this era. I have quite a few stockings, but that's because I tend to wear through them pretty quickly, so I buy them in bulk. So I have 11 pair that I can use for mid-19th century. So I have a 4 pair of white cotton stockings. I have 2 pairs of heavy wool stockings, a light wool pair of stockings, a pair of light wool stockings, 2 pairs of white silk cloth stockings, and then 2 pairs of black silk stockings. And for garters, this is before the elastic garters that I love from the mid-19th century. So I have 3 types of garters. I have 2 sets of knit wool garters that I knit with wool yarn that was from heritage breed sheep and that was dyed with natural period dyes. So I have an indigo one and I have a cochineal one, which is kind of fuchsia pink. So those are my typical go-to garters. And then I have a pair of needlework garters that are bound in silk ribbon. Those are a little bit nicer. So I have that as well. We did make that on the channel. And then my final pair, which work for this time period, would be my wedding garters, which are spring steel elastic with spingles and embroidery. They are very fancy. I probably won't use them for this time period, but they are available and they are appropriate. So I'm listing them here in case I ever do end up doing a wealthier impression for this time period. Those would be for that. For shoes, I don't actually have a good pair of 1830s shoes right now. I have been wearing my American Duchess Emmas, which are pre-1825, so they're really not great, but they function, and I have issues with footwear because I tend to walk on the outsides of my feet, and so that makes it to where my shoes don't last very long because I wear out the leather at the sides and there end up being gaping holes in them. I have some American Dry Goods shoes that are also falling apart for the same reason, but they also have a 1-inch heel, which would not be appropriate for the late 1830s. I know a lot of people wear them because we really don't have good shoe options for the 1830s right now. Well, the American Duchess, I think they're Keckley's. Those are decent. They're expensive, and I find that American Duchess shoes don't last very long, especially for me. I've had a lot of people tell me lately that they have not been happy with the longevity of American Duchess shoes. You kind of expect them to last a little bit more than 4 or 5 wears. But yes, so we don't really, other than American Duchess, there aren't really good options for this time period. So a lot of people do wear the Amazon Dry Goods shoes, which I think just sold owners. So I don't even know if they're going to be carrying those shoes anymore. I hope they do, because those are actually decent shoes for 1855 to 1865. I do have 2 American Duchess Elizas, which I love. They're perfect, but the dog got a hold of 1 pair back when I first got her, and she had a lot of anxiety issues. And so there's a hole chewed out in one of the toes. I think it's the brown shoe. And so I can't wear that pair until I fix it, which I haven't done. And then the black pair, same issue with all my other shoes. The outsides are kind of wearing thin. They're not worn through yet. They're wearing thin. So I just need to patch them before I can wear them. But those will probably end up being my 1830 shoes just because that's what I have. So for dancing and evening, I have my non-heeled black sateen slippers that are American Duchess that I dyed. And then I have some Amazon Dry Goods white slippers, which are my wedding shoes. So both of those, I have a black pair and a white pair, which is appropriate. So that's my footwear. So let's talk underpinnings and body linen now. So because 1838's Workman's Guide does show earlier Regency style chemises, I have my linen and my cotton Regency chemises that will work for this time period. I also have an early yoked style of chemise. I have 2 of those that are in a cotton linen blend, and they would be perfect for this time period too. So technically I have 5 chemises, which even for a weekend event would be perfect. I hate drawers, and I can absolutely justify not wearing them at this time period, so I just don't, which makes me very happy. No drawers equals a great fashion era in my book. It's perfect. I don't have a fantastic late 1830s to early 1840s corset yet. I have my 2 mid 1830s corsets, which will work, and I have a mid to late 1840s corset that I just finished. Actually, it's not quite finished yet. I still have to bind the top of that thing, but the bottom is bound. So there's that. I mean, one of my 1830s corsets is too big, so I could always sell it and then make a new one that is early 1840s to late 1830s. And there is a pattern for an 1842 corset, which would be nice for late 1830s to early 1840s, honestly. So I can replace one of my early 1830s corsets with. I wouldn't add anything to my wardrobe if I sold one. Technically, one is already too big, and it got candle wax all over it, so I could just like salvage the boning and the bust and make myself a new corset. That might have to go on the to-do list. So for petticoats, I have several white petticoats, not a ton that are hand sewn, but I think I have one plain white petticoat and then one fancy embroidered white petticoat. So basically I have a plain and a fancy one. And then I have a hand woven corded petticoat and then 2 upper petticoats that are hand sewn. One is plain and one has tucks. I also have a plaid wool flannel petticoat for winter. And then for working, I have 2 hand sewn wool petticoats that I can wear as my topmost petticoat for any type of fire activity. So that does take care of petticoats. That's really nice for petticoats. Petticoats don't really change. I can wear the same ones from 1830 all the way up through the 1860s. So that makes me very happy. That's less things to... That's less things to have to store. Now, once you get into fancy wear, yes, the petticoats do have to slightly change, but not so much for working class, which is nice. And then for nightwear, I do have my 1830s nightgown that I can wear, and it comes with a nightcap. They're made from 1838 Workman's Guide patterns, so they're appropriate for 1838 and to be worn for a few years. So I'm calling it good for this time period, even though it is kind of a slightly earlier style. So now for dresses, that's very easy because I only have one. So it's just one dress. It's a black cotton print. I, again, don't do a lot for this time period yet. I'm looking forward to. I would love to do more for this time period, but I don't have the excuse to make them yet. So it's just once a year, or sometimes it's even once every other year. Like I didn't do anything for this time period last year. So this one dress has served me well. I really, really want a second dress though, because I love this time period. I'm also considering taking one of my silk 1830s dress because I wear it occasionally, but I have other dresses I like better. And I'm thinking about making a nicer dress and just banding down the sleeves and making it appropriate, like showing how we take an 1830s dress and make it more fashionable. Like how do we take a dress apart and make it fashionable? Which I think would be a fun video. So I'm thinking about doing that. I also have that linen dress that I could band down. And that would be good for late 30s too. So I have options. I have to figure out exactly which ones I want to take apart. And I would sort of like a wool dress too, because those are very good dresses that you can take from working class to fancy, depending on how you accessorize them. So that would probably be a good idea. But I really only need 2 dresses. I'll figure that one out later. I guess I'll need to buy more wool though if I want a new wool dress, because I don't have any extra wool. I also do not have a wrapper for this time period, which is basically a fashion crime in my book. I love wrappers, and I have a wrapper for like just about every year that I do living history, because I love wrappers. They're fantastic. And I don't have one for this time period. So I said if I had to, I could pleat down my 1830s Gigo sleeve wrapper and turn it into a good wrapper, but I feel like we need our own wrapper for this time period. I think I have a few extras I could probably salvage and turn into wrappers for this time period. We'll get into that. So basically I just need one dress and a wrapper, possibly take out my silk dress and turn it into, I'm gonna wait on the silk dress until we get the village done and I get into a groove of what they would like me to do when I go down and volunteer there. If it's gonna be mostly cooking and working class stuff, I'm not gonna do it and I'll just sell that silk dress. If it is going to be, hey, sometimes we might want you to pray someone a little bit more wealthy because you have the skill set for that, I might take that dress and do a fun video with it. It's going to very much depend on what they end up needing me for at that site. And so really, I have the one dress and I need to add at least a wrapper and one more dress, hopefully a wool, and then possibly a silk. But yeah, my favorite fashion era, and I only have one dress. I feel like we need to remedy this, but first I need to figure out what I'm going to be doing to make it worth my while. I don't want to make dresses just to have to store them because I end up not needing that impression. So for accessories, since we didn't get to talk a lot about dresses, we'll start with the apron. So I have 2 linen aprons. One that is a half apron, it's blue striped, it's like my favorite apron. And then a brown plaid pinner apron. And yes, I used to have a white pinner apron, but I sold it because I never used it. I prefer the print ones just for me, personally. I have a ton of gloves for this era. The gloves from like 1830 to like 1860 don't change a whole lot. They're just the wrist-length leather gloves, and so I have 2 pairs of black ones, a pair of white dancing ones. I have the pink ones, I have the green ones. So yeah, I have like 6 pair of gloves that work for this time period, which is perfect. I happened to luck into a vintage lot of gloves from an estate sale, and the lady just happened to be my glove size, so I ended up with a lot of gloves. Most of them work for like 20th century stuff, but those 6 in particular, actually only 4 of them ended up working for mid-19th century, The rest of them I just bought separately. But yeah, I ended up getting a whole lot of gloves, which is fantastic. As for jewelry, I have a set of reproduction jet earrings and probably a few more sets that will work, just like little bubbles and such. But I don't really wear a lot of jewelry for this time period because the times I have worn my dress, I've been cooking over a hearth, so I just don't wear jewelry, and that's perfectly fine with me. It's just not a jewelry wearing experience. After jewelry, let's talk belts. So I have lots and lots of different colors of Petersham ribbon. I'm not even sure how many colors I have. I know I have blue, pink, maroon, black, white, yellow. I think I have another shade of blue. It's at least 7. So I have lots of different belting ribbons, and I have 3 belt buckles I can use that are from ensembles of the past. I only know where one of them is right now, but I do have 3 of them, so that is there. And I have 2 velvet belts. I have a green velvet and a black velvet. The black velvet one has a mid-19th century belt buckle on it, but it's really easy to take off because I just have it pinned in, and I can put an appropriate belt buckle on it if I needed to. And then pocket watches. I don't wear a lot of pocket watches for this time period, but I do have them. So I have one from Sign of the Grey Horse, which is more of an 18th century style, but it works for this. And then I have an original pocket watch, which is probably a little bit late. I don't think it works right now. It did work, but it's not working at this very moment. So I just need to figure out what I did to make it not work. And then I have a gold watch chain that's really long from Sign of the Grey Horse as well, I think. Now for parasols, I have 2 for this era. I have 2 walking parasols that are late 1830s. They're original. They've been recovered. So I bought them, they were already recovered probably in the 1920s, 19-teens based on the fabrics. And I took those covers and I took them off. I kept them because they are part of the parasol's history, but I recovered them back in silk as they would have been back in the period. So I have a green parasol and a pink parasol. So I do have the 2 parasols. Not that I use them because I tend to do all interior events, but I do have them for when I end up needing them, which I will when we get the little town site running up. I think I'll probably want a parasol. For bonnets, I don't really own any for this time period, like none. I don't have any sun bonnets. I don't have any fashion bonnets. I have nothing. And again, because I do interior events, I've only been cooking, and so I go to the event. I'm inside all day long, and I don't need headwear. Okay, well, I have caps. I have like 3 caps that will work. I forgot to mention the caps. I do have caps, which cover your hair when you're cooking to keep it nice and clean. Keeps the ash and the soot off your hair. So I have that for headwear. But as far as bonnets go, I have nothing. But there are patterns. So Marta Davis has a sunbonnet pattern. It's based off one of her originals. She has a silk one. I have some checked silk that I would really need to buy that pattern and actually make it up. That way I would have a late 1830s to early 1840s sunbonnet. And that'd be super simple. It actually cost me nothing other than what the pattern cost because I have the silk already and I have the cording already. That might be a next year project because I'm project out for the 19th century, at least as far as video goes this year. Now Danielle at Timely Tresses is coming out with some great transitional bonnet patterns. They're not available yet, but she's starting to put them on their website, the pictures of them. So there's going to be several, I think it's 2 or 3. I mean, okay, so she already has one out. It's 1839 to 1845. It's a coal scuttle bonnet. It's her Louisa Ann. So it'd be great if you're doing that. What is this one? Yes, perfect. So, and then a pattern in progress is Cecilia Fay. It's going to be 1839 to 1842. That'd be perfect. And then the Gwendolyn Adele, it's going to be 1840 to 1844. I've seen some of her original 1830s bonnets. I don't know if I've seen the ones specifically that are from these patterns. Then these look really familiar. So we will have that option later on. So definitely wait on the silk dress until at least there is a pattern available. Because I'm not great at drafty millinery. That is not my strong point. That's why we have wonderful people like Danielle who collects originals and just traces them and copies them. Those are the people that I enjoy. Her and Marna and people who do that. That's fantastic because bonnets don't make sense to me. Dresses make sense to me. I can do all sorts of things with dresses. Bonnets do not make sense to me. And then finally, outerwear. So I have 4 or 5 shawls I can use for this time period. One that is purple with black silk edging. Then my jacquard one that's brown. It is lined with silk throughout. Then I have a red wool that's trimmed with rabbit fur. Oh yeah, my plaid one. The plaid one's French. Yeah, there's 4. And I don't have any jackets or mantles, but I do have a brown wool cloak that I can use. So that's gonna be my nice fancy one. And that's essentially it for my 1837 to 1841-ish capsule wardrobe. So before I go, I'll share my wardrobe Excel sheet with you. So it's very simple, but it's pretty, it's color coded, and I use it for my own personal use. So green means the garment is done, it's ready to go, it's in good condition. Yellow can mean one of two things. One, that it's cut out but not made, or two, that it's made but it needs refitting or mending or something of that sort. It just needs a fix of some kind before it can be worn. It's started, it's not quite in the wearable condition. Red means that a project is not yet started, or that I need to purchase the materials for it. And there's a lot of red for this time period. But that's only because basically all I have is my underwear and one dress. So there's plenty of projects to work on, which we're probably not going to get to this year. I'm going to work on it. Actually, I may start looking at it over the summer so I have stuff for the fall, which I think is when that town site's supposed to be starting to open. And I told them that right now I can come down and help with that. So I probably need to make sure I have a wardrobe together so that when they ask me to come help, it's available. There's also a couple things on the spreadsheet that are blue. And blue just means it's on display. So my husband works in a museum. We have a display out so where people can actually touch the garments. I didn't want to use any of my originals. And it has all the correct underpinnings underneath. So some stuff is on display, like my fancy petticoat that I can't wear. But I have other petticoats available, so it's not that big of a deal to me to have that on display. But if I didn't put it on here, I would forget that I owned it. But also, I know I own it, so I'd be freaking out about where I put it. And I would think I lost it or sold it. So having it on here in blue just reminds me that it isn't there, it's just not here. So I like color coding this type of thing because I can easily see what needs to be worked on. Let's say I have an 1840 event that just pops up. I can go to this spreadsheet very quickly and see, okay, I can put together, okay, I have chemises, okay, well that one needs mending, I don't have time to do that, I'm gonna wear this chemise, I'll have this corset, I'll wear this dress. And that just is easier for me to make a really quick packing list just for myself. And it also helps me realize what I need to get done before events. So I'm not stressing out the day before event when I start pack going, oh, this needs to be mended. Oh, I need to mend that. Oh, that needs to be fixed. That ripped out. I had that experience lately. We did an 1830s event and I got to the event and realized that half my sleeve was pulled out of its socket. So I'm sitting there in my wrapper fixing my sleeve very quickly. But what I should have done is as soon as it's last time I wore it, because actually once I saw it, I remembered ripping it. And so what I need to do at the end of events is go back through my spreadsheet when I'm putting things away and mark that sort of thing. And that way for the next time, I'll know what is wrong with it. And this type of color coding also helps keep me on track because instead of going for another pretty dress when I only have one day events and I have a perfectly serviceable dress, I might decide, you know what, I'm gonna be outside this time. I really need to makeup on it, even though I'd rather work on a dress. So it helps keep me on track to do the important projects and not just the fun projects that I would like to do. And also changing a color from like red or orange to green makes me really, really happy inside, like unimaginably happy for some strange reason. So it makes me want to do the boring projects because I get to change the color of them. And that's about it for my late 1830s wardrobe. If you've enjoyed the video, please like, subscribe to the channel, click that little bell notification so you're notified anytime I upload a new video. And as always, have a fantastic week and I'll see you back here in the next video.